Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week we journey into a discovery of love, oneness, and the human spirit. I'm LeRose, and I'm so grateful you're joining me. I am joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael. It is always such a delight, and you always inspire me. So I'm eager for our conversation today. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. We energize each other. That's the beauty of this. And I hope we're energizing our listeners as well who are tuning in to us here on PRN-FM and as the recording of our podcast. I love it. I'm great today. And you know what? Here's the thing, something funny. Somebody asked me how I was doing the other day. Hey, how are you? And I said, I am awesome. And he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, that's a great response. He said,
it is a fantastic response.
He had a smile on his face and he said, that's great. That is. I'm going to use that. I said, well, I hope you're feeling it when you use it. It's just like it was the first time in a long time that when I told somebody I was awesome, and it just took them by surprise, and they're like, that is a great, because they hear so often, oh yeah, it's great, it's fine, that kind of thing, instead of, hey man, I am like revved and ready to go. I'm here. I got my foot on the gas and my foot on the brake, and I'm about to let go of the brake. So watch out. You better buckle up.
Watch out is right. And Michael, last week we had Dr. Ellen Liu on the show, and she was absolutely amazing. And I don't know if you remember what she said about you, but she said that she saw you and she felt your energy, and that. Even if I think if she wasn't seated next to you, she would have still been drawn to have a conversation with you. And I absolutely love that. I mean, that's what I feel from you every week. We've never met in person, and I envision it sometimes like, wow, what would it be like when we finally get together live and in person, sitting across the table? We're going to be up all night, and the people that are with us are going to be like, well, we're going to bed now. You guys continue that conversation.
It's going to be the one word, boom.
Boom. Yeah.
Boom,
no, that's so fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's so much. I mean, you can. I loved the conversation with Ellen. She is an amazing individual who has done so much, not only educationally, but it boils down to something very simple, that you shouldn't have to go to college to earn a PhD or a master's or a degree or get a doctorate to understand, and that is, kindness, courtesy, love,
absolutely.
patience. You think about this, and as many degrees as she has and as much education, it's just come full circle to something that she probably learned as a child. I mean, if her parents were a part of that, I mean, it's something you learn along the way. I guess the word I want to use is remember. She did all that and then just remembered what was important, why she was here, what she's supposed to do. All those degrees and everything gave her the ability to create the business, but the business operates based on simple high frequencies. That's it. And connecting with people and kindness, simple kindness. Beautiful idea and we should all think about that. No matter what we've done, what we've been through in life, it all boils down to simple kindness and love for yourself and others, and being of service to other people. Not necessarily, I'm not serving someone something, but being of service from a perspective of feeding them positivity by leaving them better than you found them. That's being of service to someone, and it's
truly
incredibly simple.
And she brought the idea of hospitality into healthcare, and I kept thinking about that. I thought the word hospitality was the perfect choice, because you think about, yes, there's hospitality when you go stay at a hotel, but there's also hospitality when you invite somebody into your home. There's an intimacy that's created, and I really love that idea, because it's like when you're bringing somebody into your home or into your inner circle, you're showing them all of these things that are important to you. You're sharing what's important to them. And it just warmed my heart. And so it got me thinking, Michael, because the connections, again, we are connect to love, and there is a loving connection. You sat next to her, she sat next to you, you felt this connection together. And even though you may not have a conversation with her, you have left her with gifts, as she did both of us and our audience, that sort of creates these threads that travel through humanity, that connect us. And so I was thinking, because we hear a lot about the concept that we are all one. And it doesn't always mean the same thing to everybody. And here we are, each week we talk about personal sovereignty. So it sort of seems like they're in opposition. But I think that the two perspectives of oneness and individuality, if you look at a tree and its leaves, each leaf is distinct, but they're all connected to that same tree. And it's all drawing the nutrients from the same roots. And I saw something I think it was on Instagram, and they had a tree they called it a living stump. And when this particular tree was cut down, the other tree reached out with its roots and kept supplying nutrients to it. And that this stump, even though it had been cut down, was still living. And I thought, that is just so beautiful, because each one of us, you go about your life and I go about mine, and we each express ourselves different ways. But when you and I come together, there's something in that connection, in those threads that we offer, that bring forth something really fantastic and beautiful. And I really love that. So thank you for the introduction to Ellen.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's one of those meant-to-be situations. But when you're talking about threads and how they connect us, thinking about One Love out of Jamaica, One Love and oneness. You think about that and you go, then why is there so much separation? It's like you're born into this reality. You come into this reality as a soul. You're forced to forget whatever it is, all that you know, or who you are really, and where you came from, and your connection to love and your connection to kindness. You're forced to forget about the threads that bind us all together. And then you got to go through this life trying to figure that all out again, which is really the point. And some people amaze me by getting there more quickly than others, and understanding, where we are right now emotionally in this world it's as if there are no threads. And I feel you and I have, we've talked about this, we have an obligation to help people reconnect to love. Right? Mm-hmm. The original thread that holds the most powerful thread, I should say, that holds everything together. The trees, the stump the tree that got cut down, the stump that's there, the animals, the flora, the fauna, everything, right? And that there's a power in that, and a grace in that we can drink from and further nurture ourselves. Everybody's nurtured together. We're able to live in an harmonious way, without all the strife. I mean, it'd be so much fun. You and I were just talking about slowing down time, and it occurs to me that that's the way we slow down time, right? We run around like chickens with our head cut off, not connecting, not thinking about simple kindness, not leaving people better than we found them because we feel we're separate from them or above them, whatever. This is what's being propagated in the world today, and you have to put up a hand and say, no, that's not what it is, right? And what it is we're one. We're together. We're connected by the thread of love. That's what we are. And to remember that through even through situations where you're engaged with people who aren't acting, thinking, and responding from a perspective of love, right? When the point we try to get across to our listeners is that when we operate from a foundation of love and the thread of love that goes through all of us and every living thing and every inanimate object, everything, because we're all made of atoms and molecules and all that, that we live a different life. We don't attract the people who are negative into our lives, the people who are the opposite of what we believe in and respond to and think about and talk about ourselves, love. When we think and act from love and respond from love, we don't attract people into our life unless we are meant to be an example, an influencer for them, to help them see what is possible, to see that there is another way to live. Not to tell them there's another way to live, but to show them there's another way to live and reconnect the thread.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. I think that invisible connection, Michael, and you think back to before the internet, before cell phones, before all of these things, there was different types of connection than there are now. And I think about my grandfather when he landed in Ellis Island and knew that he had family on the West Coast. He didn't know where he was going, but he got on a train. And by some miracle, he just kept asking whether or not somebody knew Gino LeRose. And got closer until he was able to connect with him. But you think about things are so much easier for us now, but they're also more difficult in some ways because people are using their devices. They've lost the connection of that human heart. And I think that's sort of where we are this year. We're bringing ourselves back to that, bringing us back to that oneness. So if there are these threads that are sort of like that spiritual Wi-Fi, always transmitting things out, we're learning, I think we're sort of rediscovering how to tune back in. And you had brought up I didn't listen to it, so I'd love for you to share a little bit about what Pam Gregory said about how she tunes in and tunes out the noise, because I think it was I'm looking out at the trees from my window, and it made me think of that. So would you mind sharing a brief synopsis of that?
Sure, not a problem. I mean, really the first thing she does, and she tells everybody this, is that she doesn't connect with outside media, news, other stuff like that. She doesn't connect with social media except on YouTube. And the reason is because she actually does connect with people through YouTube, through her YouTube channel. But she, in turning off the outside noise, it allows her to engage more fully with the world around her. And every morning she takes a walk regardless of the weather. It could be, raining cats and dogs, or sunny and hot as blazes. It doesn't matter. She's out there every morning walking. Puts on her rubber boots or a big jacket, raincoat, whatever. Takes an umbrella and goes and walks. And that's a commitment to connect with the threads of her love with everything around her. And that pretty much grounds her, number one. And the second thing is that she is such she's got such a command of astrology that she has taken it to, she's a messenger that is taking astrology to a whole new level and not using it to dictate what we do, where we go from a choice perspective, but helping us understand how the planetary alignments and things that are out there actually offer us the ability to connect with our true selves. And that is the beauty of Pam Gregory, and I hope that's the answer you're looking for, because there's a lot of things that Pam Gregory has said lately. I'm blown away.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said she walks through, she notices the beauty that's all around her, and I think it's so profound, Michael, because to be able to quiet the noise and then tune in, and that's how you feel it. You feel that peace, that clarity, that connection, and you start to remember who you are. And it's like, I remember as a kid, I used to lay in the grass, and I used to just tune into those blades of grass, and I would look through that view, and it just, imagine being an ant and all the different things that we do, things that we just sort of take for granted. And as each blade of grass is different, as each leaf is different, it just, but it's all one. You start to look out over that vastness. There's so many things that we just don't seem to recognize, that we are an extension of source energy. I mean, we hear it all the time when you and I listen to Esther Hicks or Sarah Landon or the teachers with Carol Collins. I mean, they're all saying the same thing. You're the creator of your reality. You're never alone. You're always connected, not just to your higher self, your soul, but all that is. And to know that there are those threads that connect us. I can be halfway around the world. I mean, I live in Pittsburgh, and it's actually a joke that you can be anywhere in the world and find a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But it's that love of sports. It's that passion. And you'll say, "Oh, you're from Pittsburgh?" Oh, I mean, it's amazing. Or I would imagine, Michael, if you were traveling anywhere in the world because you're a golfer, you can pick up that same commonality, that same connection. Those are the threads that you have a passion for something, and you share your wisdom. I mean, it doesn't have to be in a profound teaching. It's that being out on the golf course, sharing in the sunshine, sharing in the love of the game that connects you to those other individuals, those strangers that you may not even know. And I know you've met some wonderful people through golf.
Oh, yeah.
Through that connection, through those threads.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because when you were talking there, I was thinking about one thing. The threads run up, they run down, they run all around us. They're omnipresent, and they're everywhere. They're ubiquitous in our life, and it's like we're standing in the middle of a big ball of light, which actually covers 360 degrees around us in every direction. And it's a testament. What I do with regard to golf is a testament of what anybody does. If you're a pickleballer, you're going to, because of your interest and your love for the game, the passion you have for it, the excitement you have for it, you're going to resonate that, and you're going to attract other pickleballers to you. You're going to sit down next to somebody who plays pickleball, just like I sit down next to somebody who plays golf. Rarely do I sit down next to a pickleballer when I play golf, right? I mean, or when I'm out and about. Generally, the people who I encounter align with my interests, with my passions, my excitement, and which is exactly why I was blissfully seated next to Ellen in first class. Well, we're sitting in the first two seats on the right, and it's wonderful to meet high caliber people from a thought perspective, people who are aware, alert, and they understand, they get it, they get life, they get what's going on, and I love it. I sat in this. I love wine. I know you don't necessarily drink that much, but I like red wine, and
I like wine too. I just don't. I don't enjoy it as much as you do in the same fashion. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what I love about it is the nuances of it, just like anything else. I like the various flavors. I like the places in the world where it comes from, the soil complex, why it tastes so great from that part of the world, what makes it so good, right? What makes it different. And it's why when we travel around the world, we do visit wine regions, my girlfriend and I, because we bring wine back from those regions. And it's kind of a conversation about wine with a waiter. We share it with them because the waiter can expand their palate. And somebody asked me the other day, I like red wine, but I don't, I said, just go to wine tastings. It's just like you develop a taste for high quality food, you develop a taste for wine. You just expand your taste buds, what your taste buds are sensing, so that you can tell the difference between one thing and another, one region and another. It just happens over time. But it doesn't matter whether you're into that or anything else. But I sit wherever we go, we come across people who have a passion for it, or they have a love of it, but not an expansive knowledge of it. And you just share some things with them, and they go, oh yeah, because it's like most things, you when you have people that whatever you are resonating, that's what you're going to attract, and that's a way of creating your reality. You're attracting people to you that resonate with the same ideas and feelings and passion and excitement that you do. So
you're right.
It's all threads, right?
It is. Michael, you were talking, and you said that they're all interwoven. All I could think of was like a spider web. And if you've ever watched a spider spin a web, it's the most fascinating thing, because it a lot of times it'll take off from it seems like somewhat of an obscure place, and it'll just glide, and it kind of goes through the air until it can anchor itself back in. And then you think, well, now how does it get back up to make another corner? But it's the most magnificent process. And if we think of that sort of in our daily lives, and also it made me think, when you were saying that about your passion, it made me think of Bashar, following your highest excitement. I mean, if that, your passion, your excitement, that's your thread. And if you think about that spider web, it's like it's got all of these different connections within it. And then it's got its center. And I think that center possibly is our source, our heart connection.
There you go. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That is. It's interesting because you mentioned that in terms of source, because it's all connected to source. It's all source energy. It is. We are source. Source is within us. We are drops of water from the same source. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when we connect with people, when we have our interests, and we attract those people into our lives, and we have an awesome experience, with them, it is that experience that and the excitement and the passion of that experience, of having that experience, that helps manifest other like things in our life.
Mm-hmm.
When Shar was talking about the key to manifestation, well, it's excitement and passion. It's the excitement and passion that you have for one thing that automatically is transferred to another, because it's coming from you. It's emanating from you inside. It's not something outside of you, right? So it's like we were sitting in a restaurant the other day looking at boats go by, people enjoying themselves on the water in whatever kind of boats they were, from jet skis to cabin cruisers to fishing boats, center console fishing boats, to whatever you have out there. And we loved the idea of being on the water. However, neither of us loved the idea of actually owning a boat. So it's like we'll take the experience on the water, but we don't want the boat. I like the jet ski,
mm-hmm.
but I don't want to own one, right? People think about this and they think, oh yeah, I want to get that thing. And somebody told me long ago is if you get a thing to have an experience, and now you own that thing, you have to support that thing. So the experience,
you do.
Yeah, the experience of owning it is not as joyous and exciting and as passionate as actually using it. So when you're not
mm-hmm.
you're not using it, negative feelings can tend to manifest. Lower frequencies like guilt and resentment for actually buying it because you're supporting it and you're not using it. So I figured, just go rent a jet ski for an hour. Go have the experience, enjoy it, and with the friends, we did that on a cruise. A bunch of us, my brother, my sister, and a bunch of people were down in St. Thomas in the Caribbean, and a bunch of us got off the ship and went and rode jet skis for an hour. And we had so much fun together. And then we sat down that evening and we talked about our experience. But we didn't know that we didn't bring the jet skis with us. We didn't have to,
Great.
They're not our jet skis. Let somebody else deal with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that I love to live. It's kind of like, you can be a member in a band, but it's a lot more fun sometimes just to sit in with a band.
Mm-hmm.
To sit up on stage and sing a duet or join somebody for the evening, but not to have the experience of needing to practice 2-3 days during the week so you can play on the weekend, right? I've done that. I've been there. It was fun then. It probably wouldn't be as fun now because my life is so diversely, exciting in so many other ways, right? I have so many other interests, right? So that's the beauty of it, and I just love it. And I know you do the same thing because I know, you have your life, you have the things that you have around you that you surround yourself with, and your wonderful furry creatures and animals. I think you have more than most people, and a wider variety of people. But they bring you joy. And they make your life.
They do.
Yeah,
they do. And it's so interesting, Michael, because when you were speaking, I was thinking about somebody asked me the other day, I had a holistic practice for many, many years, and I enjoyed that time in my life. And I still have those skills, and I enjoy sharing my knowledge with other individuals, anybody that needs it. And if it shows up, I'm happy to assist. But I no longer want to sit in an office for 8 to 12 hours a day. That was a time in my life, and I'd like to use those skills in other ways. And I think that each one of us, when you said that about music and sitting and playing, I thought, well, that's as if each one of us were an instrument, and I start out as a ukulele, and then I graduate the guitar, and then maybe I graduate to the cello or whatever it is. I'm fine-tuning my instrument, right? And each one of us is playing our own song, and sometimes it's not in the same harmonic resonance, and so you find the people that are, and then you have this beautiful symphony that comes out, or you have a jazz session or whatever it is. I mean, you're not going to combine. Certain things can kind of come together. But again, that same thing, you have a resonance with those individuals within that oneness. And I really love that idea of what you said, it's a time in your life and you've enjoyed that and you felt that joy and that love and that excitement and you were vibrating in harmony with all of that, and you still are. And we're still all vibrating in that harmony with Source from where we came. And I don't remember what book I was listening to, but they were talking about the soul and how we come in, and that the physicality of us is just one small aspect. And over the weekend, I went to see Suzanne Giesemann, and she was a former Navy commander who had a stepdaughter that was struck by lightning and killed in a very unfortunate accident. And her husband was so distraught at the loss of his daughter, she sought out some ways to help him. And one of those ways was through a medium. And she said, because he was in the military and she was in the military, that it had to be somebody. She said you didn't want just anyone to sort of read the obituary, and so she gave a fake name and found somebody. And her stepdaughter, because she was struck by lightning, was a very unusual way to be killed. And the medium brought through so much information, and she had brought her husband with her to the reading, but he didn't come in the room, and she said, "Oh my gosh, you have to come in here." And as soon as he came in the room, the medium described his daughter coming up and sitting on his lap and putting her hands around his neck in exactly the way that she was when she was alive. And those threads, those energetic threads, even though she wasn't still here in the physical, knowing that she was still present was healing for both of them. And enough to propel Suzanne to pursue mediumship on her own. And she says, now she's not serving her country, she's serving spirit. It was really uplifting. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful event that I went to. But as you were saying that, Michael, too, I've been going up to Lilydale for probably over 20 years and enjoy the time there. And each time I feel connected to all of these individuals that used to go up there, like Susan B. Anthony and Harry Houdini and all of these other people that shared in those same common interests, that there was a connection to source, something that's beyond what we see in the physical.
Yeah, it seems that the energy up there is stronger in that way than other places, and it affords you the opportunity to connect with that strong energy in a way that without the distractions that you otherwise would have elsewhere. But it must be powerful, very empowering. I'm envious of those places. My place like that is kind of like the beach. If on a morning when the waves are just lapping, the wind's blowing from the other direction, it's so calming, from just an aesthetics perspective. In the summer when it's very humid still in the morning, and it's just one of the calmest places that you can be on the planet. You just love it, and you can get the experience of it for free. You just go down there and sit in the morning, and there are lots of people who walk on the beach and the like, but you don't really pay attention to them so much if you're just hanging out. I used to take a chair and just sit at about 7 o'clock in the morning till about 8. Just sit there. Sometimes I just close my eyes and just listen to the water lap onto the shore, and an occasional seagull screeching, or just the sounds of being there, and let the sun just rise on my face and body. It's simple, yet it's so nourishing. It's just
truly. Just hearing you talk about it, Michael, I mean, I can feel that it brings you peace. And I'm sure that it brings you clarity and helps you tune into your purpose and your passion. And I would imagine that when you're in those spaces, you recognize that you're not ever separate from that love, the love that's around you all the time, and that you can tune into that.
So true.
Very special.
So true. Yet, it's amazing that although we keep hearing through the various sources that we connect with, that there are many people out there who are waking up to their own sovereignty and becoming more aware of their surroundings and themselves, and are making choices that are about from an excitement and passion perspective versus I have to do this, I have to do that. You can hear from their language that they're not preferences that they would make otherwise, right? They're not choices that they would make otherwise, but they're being forced to make those choices, and they have a challenge in reconciling that or finding joy in whatever it is that they've perceived to be negative in their life. And I'm a hardcore. I'm going to find the joy and the love in this thing, whether it's cleaning up after my corgi every 2 days, a little corgi dust ball, hair dust balls. Some people would look upon that as being, I look at the floor and I'm like, oh, I got to vacuum that again. It's a dark floor and it's got corgi hair all over it, and you're like, didn't I just do this yesterday? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you've got this loving little creature And that's what the loving little creature does. So you accept it, and you clean up with love, and without any negative feelings and emotions wrapping around it. That is the one thing that I find a lot of my friends, even friends I had, they would always talk about the things they didn't want to do, and I'm going, well, once you find a way to like that thing, look at it, take a look at it again, and this time don't invest all the negative emotions from the perceptions you have. Just shift your perception of it and see how differently you feel and how differently you do it, right? And I'm someone who I can't just back in the middle of the floor. I've got to make sure I move things, right? Because that's just, to me, the joy is there in doing a good job, and I don't leave a dust bunny somewhere in a corner that I didn't want to go into. So it's just, it's part of living, it's part of life. But
it is. It's your version, Michael, of chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water. It's how you. It is. You kind of access that infinite wisdom, right? It changes form. It changes form, and because I watch it all the time in my day. I mean, I look at my little ones, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I just cleaned that. And really? I'll say to them, really? Like, I just cleaned that. My little Snoop Dogg will get a hold of some paper towels that I set down, and next thing I'll know, I have a shredded little pile, and he'll look at me, he'll pick his little head up and look at me like, look what I did. He's so proud of his art creation.
The achievement. That's so, it's so true. They all do that, don't they? I mean, I asked the question, where did you get, the little boy chewed up a green plastic pen. I mean, this is not necessarily the healthiest thing to do. It's a green plastic ballpoint pen. I'm going, where did you find that? I didn't drop a pen on the floor, yet it's all in a little pile. It's all in a little pile. All little shards are in a pile. I'm going, I hope he didn't swallow any of this. And I think he was smart enough not to, but he just wanted to tear it up. He did chew the plastic parts. He wanted to take those with him, but he just piled everything up in a little pile, and I went over and picked up the pile, and I'm going, okay, great. Let's just hope for the best here. But that's just, it's what's interesting is the number of people who actually engage in things like getting furry little creatures for the wrong reason. Mm-hmm. Not for themselves, not because they love it, not because they're impassioned by having that little furry creature around, but because they want someone else to because someone else asked for it, but they don't really understand what they're asking for. There's not to go off on this diatribe on this for a second, but it's important, in my view, to, when you're making choices, understand how you're connected to it. Your connection, your thread to it, and the more you make choices based on the thread of love, right, instead of maybe obligation or some other lower frequency feeling or emotion, if it's love, you know that you will enjoy it. Because you're connected to it in the highest way possible, right? Same thing. Get an animal, you get it because of the connection of love you have with it, and it's for you. Parents buy pet animals for their pets, for their kids all the time, thinking that they want it. It'll shut them up. It'll do whatever, keep them busy while I'm off doing some ridiculous thing myself. Point though is that sometimes the interest is fleeting. And what happens when that goes on? If your connection wasn't love to begin with, then this is how a lot of dogs and cats end up in shelters, because there's no love. The basis isn't, the foundation of it isn't love. And a lot of things, I know Pam Gregory was talking about it today, a lot of institutions, a lot of relationships aren't, the foundation of the connection was not love. And so, and how we're in an age where those institutions, those relationships that were founded in love and enjoy, they will stand the test of time, whereas other things will not. They'll fail. They'll crumble. This is where we are now. Love is coming to the forefront with regard to being the main foundational thread that runs through us all.
That's so true. So true. I have a little, because I feed my dogs roasted chicken, I have chicken bones. And so I have a pile outside that I feed the outside animals because they're going to get into my garbage anyway. So instead of them getting into my garbage, I just make it readily available. And I don't have any torn open garbage. So it makes it really nice. But when I go outside at night, there's two little raccoons. One doesn't have a lot of hair. The other one's real sweet. And they literally, the one will sit up like a dog and we wait for me to give him the spine or whatever the bone is. And he is so gentle with me that he'll tap my foot just to sort of say thank you. They're just so sweet. They get along with the feral cats outside that I feed, all sorts of things. And I think that when we look at everything being connected by those threads, every animal, every person, every form of life, we are so connected by those invisible threads. And it's just opening up the eyes to see it. And yesterday, I don't know what it was in the feed on Instagram, but I saw a post, and oh my goodness, it just opened my heart as wide as could be. I filled it with so much love that there was a post about a program called Wolves and Warriors. And the program was originally for wolves that were in hardship, that were in trying to get them out of bad situations, abusive situations, people who thought that they could own a wolf. And so they've ended up in sanctuary. But the one person happened to be walking, and he noticed somebody that was a veteran that was homeless and started to have a conversation and started to see the common thread between these wolves and also these veterans. And they said that, there's a lot. I went to the website and they said that there were a lot of similarities between the veterans and the wolves because they had traveled around the globe and they, had been put in hardship situations. But as these wolves and these warriors, these veterans start to work with each other, they find themselves again. The animals, the wolves, start to trust and develop a relationship, and many of these veterans who were suicidal find their way back to center. They find that loving connection. I was so blown away by it. It was just fantastic. And it really does echoes what you said, Michael, about those threads that connect us.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful story, and an example of how two beings can come together and just transform each other. And that's really where in my view, we should be coming from when we're meeting people, when we're engaging and connecting with people. I was transformed by many of the things that Ellen had said on the plane, and I guess assuming based on what she said last week, she was also transformed herself. We're constantly being transformed. People look at this being transformation as some big fat, as a lightning bolt. If there's no lightning bolt, then I'm not transformed. But that's not really the case. We are a different person, as Bashar says. We're a different person every second because we're constantly intaking information, being exposed to things, and our grid is constantly just basically racking up all kinds of things. It's all around us, whether or not we consciously see it or not. We are continually transformed, and it's a subtle thing. It doesn't always occur when you fall down and hit your head and become a medium,
right.
Channel, right? That's
right.
And there's so many people who are like that. You hear those stories about how this happened, or I had an accident, or I had a car accident, or I had this thing, or I slipped and I fell, blah blah blah, and and it changed me. It gave me these. It opened up a pathway to connecting with, or I had a near-death experience, and that changed me. It's like I've never been one of those people who needed a near-death experience, and that's just not me talking. It's my guides and the angels around you. That's not. I don't need the cosmic 2x4.
Right.
People focus on that. Well, there was no cosmic 2x4. There was nothing really tragic in my life that happened that made me change. No, every day I walk outside, or sitting here at my desk having a conversation or reading something. Whenever you're ingesting something, you're continually evolving and transforming. And
that's beautiful.
Hopefully for the good. Hopefully it makes you feel good, like that story that you read about the wolves. That's beautiful stuff. We see those all the time. The question is, do we take the time to absorb them? Because those good feelings, those great feelings that you have when you're absorbing those stories, that's why they're there, so that we can benefit. So they can elevate our frequencies of love. That they validate our connection to the thread of love that's going through all of us in all things. And I pay attention to those just like you do. I love reading them. I love watching movies that have bent to them, that move in that direction, that are based on true stories of people who've done extraordinary things with animals and with people and situations and circumstances. They're uplifting. They're elevating.
Yeah, and I love it, Michael, that you bring up the fact that you don't have to go anywhere or do anything special. I mean, you don't have to sit on a meditation cushion, in hours of silence waiting to feel a connection. I mean, it's the simple everyday practices that guide us back to the truth of that oneness. And like you said, when you and Ellen met on that plane, you never knew the conversation that you were ready to embark on. Like, yeah, sure, you never know what direction it's going to take.
True.
But you connected with another individual, and I'm sure after she met you and you both went your separate ways, and you knew you had invited her to come onto the show, but I'm sure whomever she ran into at her destination, she shared parts of the conversation, those threads of that conversation of what impacted her that you shared with her. And I know you messaged me and you said, we have to have Ellen on the show. She's so amazing. And because of her acts of kindness. And I think that when any of us, each one of us, we give love, we feel that love back. And it reinforces our connections to that universal essence of love that's all around us, those threads that connect us so powerfully.
It's wonderful. Well, she did say, "Can I get a hug?" after we got off the plane.
Fantastic.
I was there for another couple of hours, but it's wonderful to meet somebody for the very first time and have such a depth of conversation and connection that you can give them a hug when you say goodbye. It's a wonderful thing. We both left each other different than before we connected. I mean, that's and that's to me, that's the litmus test of a great connection on that level is that. So.
Well, and I think sometimes, and I want to share this with you because we have a follower on our Instagram and a gentleman who listens to our show. His name is Rich, and he is somebody that I met many years ago because I would go to the post office almost every day. And he worked at the post office. And we would have pleasant conversations and lots of different things that we talked about over the years. And then he retired, and I didn't really see him until I was doing a holistic health event, and who walked in, and he said, "I didn't know you were into this stuff." And I said, "I didn't know you were into this stuff." And
I love it.
I know, isn't it? So he's so kind. He is always commenting on the Instagram posts and inspired and sharing different things. And he was the individual that introduced me to Suzanne Giesemann. He said, "Have you ever heard of Suzanne Giesemann?" And no, and were it not for that connection so many years ago of walking into the post office and saying hello and having short conversations, never realizing that we had common interests. I mean, and I think that it was such a good metaphor. But the same thing, like when he ended up going up to Suzanne Giesemann, and I said the same thing. Can I have a hug? Like I just feel a kinship. I mean, I know that we're connected. And he jokingly, he said he's been following Suzanne's work for a while on YouTube, and he bought all these books of hers, and he hasn't had an opportunity to read them. And he said, well, I feel a little bit funny going up to signing a book, but when he messaged me, he said, I was really glad I decided to stay and stand in line. He said, because when I brought my book up, he said, I'm Richard from Pittsburgh. And she got up from behind the table, much to his surprise, and came and gave him a great big hug. Because guess what? She feels connected to him.
Exactly.
She feels it's those threads. I just loved it. I loved it that he shared it with me. I was really honored. And I told him how grateful I was that he connected me with her work as well.
That's so fabulous. That is an awesome story, and one that, it really it's not as rare as you might think. Once you step into that mode of understanding and thinking and acting from the thread of love going through everything, these experiences happen all the time. They do. It's the distraction that prevents them from happening. When you're distracted by other things that take you down to lower frequencies, that make you feel less than, that make you feel anger or sadness. It's somebody the other day had said something to me, sent me something, and they said, this is so sad. And I'm thinking, no, it's not sad. Number one, it's just the way things are. It's the way life is. Everybody chooses. I'm thinking to myself, everybody chooses their exit point, right? When their mission is over, they're out of here, right? My mother's 96 and still alive because her mission's not over, right? That's it. And at some particular point, her mission will be. And in the meantime, I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on what kind of quality relationship can you have while I can still see, touch, and give you a kiss and a hug, right? What that to me is where my focus is. As I think it was the teachers that said that from Carol Collins that said we as human beings we feel pain too deeply and for too long when we lose something. Too deeply. Yeah. Because we don't understand, we haven't remembered that nobody ever dies. We're here. This is just a transition. And we go back to our soul group. We go back to see the people that were here in this play with us acting, and whose missions were accomplished. Listen. When you grasp the idea that it is that this is your life play. This is something you created for you. You created all the experiences that you have, and now you have the free will as to how it is that you respond to them, how you interact with them, right? It's no coincidence that Ellen was on the plane with me.
Sure.
I take it out, I extrapolate out and say, and believe that fully that we had decided to connect on that level. She's part of my play and I'm part of hers. We connected, and then that connection brought her to the show, and will help other people as well, right? So it's not like it's I'm going to Austin tomorrow to hang out with Ellen for a week. Now, when I go down there, I have a friend, and I'll make sure that when I see him, I also connect with her, and we have lunch or we have dinner or something, and talk about how things are going and where they're going and the beauty of life and all those things. Of course, that's possible. Not every connection is supposed to be this mind-blowing thing. Sometimes it's just, I'm hitting it off with the flight attendants who are on the plane, and I'm loving them and they're loving me back. Which always happens anyway.
Yeah, without a doubt. Absolutely, Michael. And I think for any of our audience members here on Connect to Love, if you are feeling disconnected, or you're feeling anxious or uninspired, or you're a little bit confused about how to understand these threads of consciousness, it's really just as simple as saying yes. You know what? I don't care if I don't understand what they're talking about. You can go into this blindly. Just open up your heart and say, okay, I'm ready to experience and explore my own connections. And I think that's sort of how we do it. It doesn't have to be some grand adventure. It's just tuning into your own connection with Source and how it can help you relate to others, in not only in your work relationships or other things. And I think that's how those experiences start to happen. They start happening, maybe just one little thing that gives you that breadcrumb, and you go, oh, wait, is this how this works? And then next thing you know, you're running in and you're experiencing a synchronicity, and you're thinking, well, I don't know, is this really what it is? Is this what oneness and connection is about? And then you have a stranger give you an extra big smile or that hug, because truly we are always connected. You are always loved, and you are always being reminded to be who you truly are. And that's why I'm so grateful for you, Michael, because you bring out the best in me. And these conversations we don't know. We start them off and we don't know where they're going, but they're always amazing. And I always end up with a big, huge smile on my face and enjoy the time that I share with you and the audience. And I would love to have you share your thoughts about your final thoughts about the threads and close out the show, because this has just been phenomenal.
It always is. I mean, there's the fact that there's a thread that's connected us to this and brought us to this point. Glenn Brooks was part of our thread, and that this emanates from his thoughts and his love and his kindness while he was here is a miracle. I will simply say that to piggyback on what you just said about it's not a grand gesture. Being nice to the next person that is being of service to you. That's it. It's like, make a commitment to think and act and respond from love from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed, and that you're not going to bring in any other lower emotions, no jealousy, no envy, no resentment, no sadness, no grief, and make sure that you to maintain that, to hold that love within you, make it a point to expose yourself that day to things, only to things that excite you and that you're passionate about. And you're not going to expose yourself to something that's going to attempt to steal your power, attempt to take away your sovereignty, your ability to control how you feel. Because that's what we are. We always do that. You get up, you turn on talk radio, and they're talking about something that has nothing to do with you in your life, something nebulous out there, and the whole idea is so that they can get your goat, they can get your dander up, they can make you feel less than or angry about something. They want your response, right? So just live from love, connect to love at every opportunity. Your furry creature is not a furry creature. Your furry creature is an unconditional, loving being. And look deep into their eyes, and they'll know you love them. They're there to give you unconditional love. That's the whole purpose of having whatever kind of being you have. And once you do that, your day is set. Just keep that flow and keep that energy of love and the connection you have to everything around you rolling. And just see what happens. See what happens. See who you meet. Pay attention. Give them a little word of kindness. It's fantastic. You know that. You do that. Everything will be awesome. And everybody who's listening on PRN-FM, thank you so much. Much appreciated. We appreciate you.
as I appreciate you, Michael, and I do appreciate the listeners. So thank you for joining us and sharing this journey of discovery of loving kindness and connection. It's just been amazing. So thank you.